All right, so this video will help you with the fraction, decimal, and percent conversions. So converting to percent essentially just means out of 100. So if we have like 0.37, that was really 37 out of 100. So you'd write that as a fraction like that, and that might seem familiar to you. And then your percent is just that 37% on top. So then to convert a decimal to a percent, all we're essentially doing is multiplying by 100, and that's just moving the decimal point to the right 2 spaces. So for some examples, let me change color here. All right, so if we move our decimal point over 2 spaces, we're going to be left with 41.3. And here, if we move it 2 spaces, remember if we have an empty space, we need to fill it with a 0, so we'll end up with 20. And these are percents, sorry. And here, if we move it 2 spaces, we'll end up with 216%. All right, so then to convert a fraction to a percent, first you'll want to divide your fraction so that it becomes a decimal, and then you'll convert just like we did before. But with fractions, if your fraction has a 100 in the denominator already, your percent is just the numerator because it's already out of 100. So some examples for fractions. So if we have 17 over 22, you'll first want to change that to a percent. So 17 divided by 22, you can just put in your calculator. And this becomes 0.7727. So then moving that decimal point 2 places to the right, we end up with 77.27%. The next one, 47 divided by 61. This is also 0.77, then it's 0.5. I promise those 7 sevens were not intentional. So moving that decimal place then 2 spots, we end up with 77.05%. Right now this last one, 97 over 100, because it's already out of 100, we can just use that 97 on top to get 97%. And you could still divide it, but you would just get 97. So it's just saving you a step. All right, so think about like when you get an 86 out of 100 on a test, you automatically know, oh, I got an 86%. Whereas if you get like a 10 out of 16 on an assignment, first you would divide that. You'd put it in your calculator, divide 10 divided by 16, find that decimal, and then you would multiply by 100 in your head just to find your percent. So you're already doing this. You just probably didn't know you were doing it. All right, so converting percents to decimals and then to fractions. So to convert a percent to a decimal, first, you'll just divide by 100. Before we were multiplying, and so we're going in the reverse direction, so we're dividing. So we're moving the decimal point to the left 2 spaces. So here we have 11%, so our decimal point is there, so if we move that 2 spaces over, we end up with 0.11. Here we have 315%, so our decimal's on the end again, so if we move that 2 spaces, we end up with 3.15%. Now here we have 7.8%, so moving that decimal 2 spaces to the left, we have an empty spot, so we fill it with a 0. So we're left with 0.078, and that's all you do. So then to convert a decimal to a fraction, this is where it gets a little bit more confusing, but it's not bad. So you'll write the digits of the decimal, so no decimal point, just the numbers, over a denominator that's equal to the place value of the decimal. And then you're going to reduce. So what in the world does that mean? I promise it's not bad. So if we start with, for example, 0.76, to write that as a fraction, I'm just going to do 76. So notice I left out the decimal point, and then divide that by 100. So I had 2 place values in my original decimal, and so I added 2 zeros to my denominator. And then reducing that, you would get 19 over 25, and you can just reduce in your calculator. All right, another example, 0.498. So I just write 498 on top, and then notice I had 3 place values in my original decimal, so I put 3 zeros in my denominator. And then that reduced is 249 over 500. If you are confused about reducing, please reach out to me because I won't go over that here because it's a different topic, but I want to make sure we can do that as well. All right, so some examples. I've got 1.749, so I'll do 1.749 divided by 1, and then I had 3 places after my decimal point, so I'll put 3 zeros in. And now this actually does not reduce, so we're good. All right, the next one I've got 0.6512, so 6512, and then I had 4 after my decimal point, so I'm going to put 4 zeros, so 1 0 0 0 0. This does reduce. This actually reduces to 407 over 625. Again, if you need help with that, let me know. All right, here we have 0.4, so it's just going to be 4 over, I had one place value after that decimal point, so 4 over 10, sorry. And this reduces as well to 2/5. All right, so then to convert percents to fractions, first you'll just convert that percent to a decimal and then the decimal to a fraction. So just combining these two steps. So this first one where we changed it to a decimal. Oops, I did not realize I put percent there. All right, so first you'll change that percent to a decimal and then the decimal to a fraction. So just combine those two things. All right, so that's the end of this video. You should complete the practice that's within the lesson description and then take